Yo, another banger video from Cash Jordan. Bittersweet one since I'm in New York and I'm seeing this shit going on and I'm seeing this shit in real time.
As the immigration crackdown continues and some retreat in fear, people all throughout New York are stepping up.
The mayor and the president see millions of people, not only in this city, but across the country, as expendable.
So as President Trump ramps up the largest targeted deportation effort in U.S. history, some of New York City's leaders are digging in their heels. Because although ICE's immigration crackdowns are focused on the gang members and dangerous individuals who've come here to grow their criminal empires, local progressives claim they object to immigration enforcement in the name of compassion for all immigrants. But as you're
Figures that our fucking state government is in favor of this shit.
We're about to see, some of that compassion may be sorely misplaced.
When our communities are under attack, what do? Stand up like that.
There's no denying migrants in New York City are terrified, staying away from school, church, and work to avoid arrest during an ICE immigration raid.
We will stand together against hate and attacks that seek to divide us.
This all comes on the heels of Tuesday's multi-agency operation in the Bronx, Washington Heights, and
Yo, currently right now, Mayor Adams, he's the mayor of was it Greg Adams, I think? They're trying to get on his ass too because he's in favor of Donald Trump and all the help that he's giving them, and they're trying to fucking oust his ass. They're revealing all the bullshit that he's doing, like from his past. They're revealing all that shit, and they're just trying to get him out. You know, they're calling him a traitor and all that shit by everyone under the sun here in New York. I mean, I could give a shit less about Mayor Adams because Mayor Adams did a lot of bullshit before Donald Trump became, got elected. So it's like, you get what you get, motherfucker.
Queens. 12 targeted criminals were arrested, including an alleged ringleader of the Venezuelan Tren de Aragua gang. Authorities tracked him to New York from Colorado, and they found a loaded gun and ammunition inside his Bronx apartment.
Were there a lot of people living in that apartment?
He had a few kids.
Yo, a lot of these fucking gangs are coming from are living currently in the Bronx, bro. No offense to people who are from New York or who are from the Bronx, bro, but anybody who comes to New York, don't go to the Bronx. No offense to anyone there. But y'all know how the Bronx is like. It's not the best. That's all I'm gonna keep. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
I would say like 5, I would say.
This is not a game. This is a dangerous job for the men and women of ICE, and to have that type of interference puts our officers at great risk. Not only the officers, it puts the aliens at great risk because anything can happen when we take our eyes off the goal here. So
it is in this ever-intensifying atmosphere that ICE agents' field tactics, specifically what places are off limits, once again dominates the collective conversation about where migrants can feel safe in New York City.
Dude, I hate the fact that they always say migrants. They never say illegal migrants. This is the shit that pisses me off sometimes too. Especially from the leftists and the liberal media, they always love saying that, oh no, people don't like, oh, you guys are whatever expletive they want to add. Oh, you don't like migrants here, you don't like immigration, all that bullshit. They always leave out the illegal part. I don't know why they always do that. I'm in favor of legal immigration. I'm Hispanic. I'm in favor of illegal immigration. I want to see legal immigrants come to this country and flourish, but I'm not in favor of illegal immigration. I'm not in favor of illegal migrants or criminal migrants that come from other countries, or worse, illegal criminal migrants. I'm not in favor of that. And a lot of fucking people, that's the thing about it, bro. They think that just because, especially with Hispanic people, they think because you're Hispanic, you're supposed to be in favor of this shit. You're supposed to be in favor of the illegal immigration and the illegal migrants that are coming in here. I'm not. I'm not in favor of it. I don't condone it, and I'm also ashamed of it because a lot of these people also come from Ecuador, where my mom is from. It's like, I hate that shit. It gives us a bad name, especially hardworking people like us. It gives us all a bad name, and they all put us in that fucking boat. And I'm not a fan of it, bro. I don't like that. But then again, that's mostly for all immigrants, all minorities in this country. They think that we have to have some type of groupthink, if that makes any sense. They think that we're supposed to, have we all think the certain way. We're all supposed to think and be in favor of bullshit and all that, and just all types of stupid shit we're supposed to be in favor of. But no, we're not groupthink. We're not a hive-minded people. We have individual thoughts, and we're not gonna just allow just random groups of people, especially people who who are not like us, dictate how we should fucking think. So that's just my 2 cents.
So as activists lose their minds, many New Yorkers are happy they're no longer losing their communities to criminals. And what none of these people will tell you is that every immigration position they say they're against has the potential to not only make our city safer, but to benefit the very immigrant communities they say they're sticking up for. For example, with President Trump signing the Lake and Riley Act, anyone in the country illegally must be held.
Dude, a lot of people don't know, during the fucking elections, bro, granted, Trump didn't win New York, but the Democrats won it by a small fucking margin, like really fucking small. I think 42 to 45% of New York voted for Donald Trump. That's fucking crazy that he almost got New York, or it was a fucking 50-50 deadlock. It's fucking wild. So that really just show you where the Democratic Party really stands today.
In federal custody if they're accused of theft or a violent crime, something New York City's legal system will not do. In fact, we release our violent criminals, which is why we've got problems with out-of-control shoplifting, rampant robberies, and subway crime. Our legal system sees these as non-jailable misdemeanor offenses with shoplifting, rampant robbery.
You know what this means? Ladrón means thief in Spanish, or ratero. I think that's a slang term for, well, rata, R-A-T. If it's R-A-T-A, means rat. So like a thug or something. I would assume it could be like a colloquial Spanish slang term or something. Ojo means eyes, but it also could mean be on the lookout. Like keep your eye on this guys, on these people.
And subway crime. Our legal system sees these as non-jailable misdemeanor offenses, which means instead of people going to jail, they get unlimited second chances to reoffend. Something these gang members immediately get to work on after nothing happens to them. However, that's about to change because ICE is here. They're making arrests, and if you're a member of New York City's criminal community with an immigration violation, this sanctuary city may be the wrong place to live unlawfully. Which brings us to the real reason why all of these activists are so upset about this. To them, open borders are more important than criminal records, even if the people with criminal records tend to prey upon the working class and law-abiding immigrants the most. Something gangs like Trende Aragua from Venezuela
Of course they would. Bro, I've noticed something. They never pull this shit with the native people here in New York. They never, these fucking illegal immigrants or these fucking criminal migrants that come here illegally, they never pull this shit with let's make it about race. They never pull this shit with white people. They never pull this shit with black people. They never pull this shit with Asian people or Indian people. They pull that shit with Hispanic people because they think that because we come from like the same country or the same continent, we're supposed to be in favor of the bullshit. Nah, bro, that's not how it's gonna be no more. Fuck that.
Doing almost as soon as they get here, embedding themselves in a local community where they go about afflicting those around them who they see as human capital to be best used for furthering their gang's ambitions, which is why they traffic everything from products to people along our streets and sidewalks. But as you're about to see, even though many New Yorkers are happy that their neighborhoods are now safer, our leaders are gearing up to do things that will protect dangerous criminals no matter what it costs them.
Probably Governor Holchu.
So here we are at the Roosevelt Hotel, New York City's flagship shelter for asylum seekers in Midtown. And although our leaders act as if their immigration resistance movement exists for all immigrants, there are some immigrants living in this very facility who wish it didn't, because they're living in a building next to gang members, and they don't want their kids getting sucked into the criminal underworld. But in the name of resistance, our leaders have a plan to flood nonprofits with money that's going to be used to help immigrants resist these deportation efforts. But since these deportation efforts are only focused on criminals, it looks like some of the gang members living in places like this might get to stay.
We will stand together against hate and attacks that seek to divide us.
The New York City Council is providing more than $2 million in emergency funding to nonprofits helping immigrant communities.
So it looks like our leaders have decided that the best way to resist President Trump is to flood nonprofits with money that they can then go and use to advocate for immigrants. Never mind, these nonprofits do such a great job advocating that after people get evicted from a hotel like this, they end up living in a tent somewhere because they couldn't find a job or provide for themselves despite the billions of dollars in funding that have gone to every organization who said...
Yeah, I wonder where all that money went to. I wonder where all that nonprofit funding went to. Sure as hell didn't go to these people.
As they care. Which is too bad because the people they claim to care about end up getting trapped in a never-ending cycle of poverty that just won't stop, and it all starts from the moment they move into one of these facilities. These shelters, they might feed and house and clothe people, but they don't employ those people, they don't give them any tools for success, and now that we know gang members are living in places like this...
Yeah, basically stuck on the government's teat. Can't really do anything. They get the bare minimum, and if they try to fucking find a job, those fucking fundings and those fucking benefits gets cut off immediately.
It's obvious they don't keep immigrants safe either. And as you're about to see, all of this activism does nothing but protect a dangerous...
Yeah, but of course they wouldn't fucking protect them. It's easy to prey on your own instead of preying on fucking foreign people. Like I mentioned before, they're not going to pull this shit with the other ethnic groups in this country because they're not like them. They're not going to put up with that shit. Go pull that shit with a fucking black person to see what they'll fucking do to you. Go fucking pull that shit with someone who comes from downtown. They'll immediately call the cops on your bitch ass. Go pull that shit with a fucking Asian dude. Alright, they're not gonna fucking put up with any of this shit. So it's easy to fucking take advantage of these fucking people since one, they're like them, as in they speak Spanish, relatively from the same culture and the same fucking continent or country. It's easy to do that to them, you know? Two, what the fuck are they gonna do if they call for help? Nothing. Because they're migrants, they virtually have no fucking rights in this country. Well, very little rights. If you're gonna do some shit or you're gonna fucking complain, they'll probably ship your ass back. These people don't fucking care. Nobody fucking cares.
Status quo that's invading neighborhoods all over town, filling them with the types of gang activity nobody running New York ever thought would make its way here. And even though everyone knows it's here, right here in this building, since we don't like Trump over here in New York, we're going to do everything we can to protect those criminals.
This all comes on the heels of Tuesday's multi-agency operation in the Bronx, Washington Heights.
Dude, that whole fucking Trump pulls all the funding. Pull the funding. Like, I'm not sure if you guys heard what happened with the governor of Maine. Trump put his foot on her fucking neck. like telling her, yo, straight up, bro, if you ain't gonna fucking comply with what we're doing, bro, then we're just gonna cut funding. We're gonna cut any fucking government funding for your bitch ass.
Trump sparring with Maine's governor during an event at the White House on Friday. The exchange occurring when Trump was discussing his executive order banning transgender athletes from women's sports.
Are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
We are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding.
See you in court.
Every state, good. I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one.
It is what it is. Good. I hope Trump does something about this. Like, put these fucking like shitty despot politicians and fucking government workers of New York in check, bro. Because this shit's fucking ridiculous, bro. We shouldn't have to fucking live like this.
Queens. 12 targeted criminals were arrested, including an alleged ringleader of the
go back a
Venice
second.
in the Bronx, Washington Heights, and Queens. 12
Queens? What part of Queens? I'm gonna fucking take a wild guess. In Queens, wherever the majority of South Americans are, I would say Jackson Heights, Roosevelt. I would say Corona. I would say Elmhurst. Those places have a lot of Hispanic, a lot of South Americans, I'm gonna say. Ecuadorians, Colombians, Venezuelans. There's also Central Americans, Mexicans. It wouldn't surprise me if it's in that area.
targeted criminals were arrested, including an alleged ringleader of the Venezuelan Tren de Aragua gang. Authorities tracked him to New York from Colorado, and they found a loaded gun and ammunition inside his Bronx apartment.
So while ICE is out there taking down gang members who are living in apartments next to families with children, sometimes even having children inside their own apartments, instead of our leaders offering to help get those gang members out of our communities, they're spinning this all around as if it's an attack on every...
Dude, I'm surprised in Washington Heights, bro. I'm surprised. There's no way Dominican people are going to fucking allow these motherfuckers to just do whatever they want. Ain't no fucking way. Dominican people, they handle business, Dominican people.
Immigrant that lives here, which it's not. It's the gang members that are attacking immigrants, and when police remove them from a community, whether it's the NYPD or ICE, that asylum shelter, that neighborhood, it is now safer, and the people who do live there are in better hands. Yet for some reason, our leaders are under the impression that law enforcement activity and immigration are somehow toxic to one another. Yet it is the absence of law enforcement that empowers the criminals who are making a living off the backs of everyone around them, while putting their neighbors and everyone who lives with them in danger.
Were there a lot of people living in that apartment? I have no idea. Well, yeah, they had a few kids. I would say like 5, I would say. I really, who would I think?
So this is one of the neighbors of a Tren de Aragua gang member who was taken down by ICE in an early morning raid, and the New York Post is interviewing about what it was like living next to them. He says there were small children and other people living in this apartment with this person. Everyone in that building was in danger. An ICE raid in that building was a good thing. That building, everybody there, they're now safer. Yet somehow this is an attack on everybody? I don't think so. The neighbors are thrilled. These criminals are off the streets.
Nobody fucking believed that this was an attack on everyone. Nobody, only these fucking liberalistic leftists, like people who love sucking the government's teeth and just have this Trump derangement syndrome. Nobody fucking believes this shit was a fucking bad idea. Nobody.
They're building out of their neighborhoods for good now. And look at this map. These raids are taking place in the Bronx and in Queens.
Let me see that list again.
Out of their building, out of their neighborhoods for good now. And look at this map.
Where is this place right here? Was it Kilman or Millman Avenue?
These raids are taking place in...
Okay, Yankee Stadium. Okay, yeah, it would be in the Bronx. A lot of shit happens in the Bronx, yeah. This is uptown. This is uptown Manhattan, so like Harlem, Spanish Harlem, shit like that. Bronx, yeah. This is Queens right here. This looks like more like what do you call it? This looks like either Astoria or Long Island City. It's one of those two. I could be wrong. If somebody who's from New York, please let me know where this place is right here, because I can't really tell the name. Kilman or Wilman Avenue. Y'all gotta let me know.
In the Bronx and in Queens, these raids are not taking place in the city's richest zip codes, which certainly helps explain why pampered progressives have a misguided view of all this. And
yeah, what a fucking surprise. They never put them in their fucking area. They never put them in their fucking apartments or neighborhoods. Heaven forbid they're on Fifth Avenue doing that shit. Heaven forbid you have these illegal migrants on Fifth Avenue. They'll never let that happen.
Calling it an attack on everyone. And to anyone looking at this with a reasonable viewpoint, there's no way that can possibly be true. But there's something else that our leaders are very upset about.
Mayor Eric Adams says he directed the NYers to coordinate with federal authorities for this operation because the targets were wanted criminals, and so the cooperation did not violate the city's sanctuary city laws.
Working with the mayor of New York City was fantastic. I talked to him 4 or 5 times last night about what we were doing our operation.
Oh, no, you can't do that. You can't be the mayor of a sanctuary city that harbors gang members and then work with a president who's a Republican to get rid of a big no-no. Even though one of these gang members is described as as the leader of the gang that took over apartments in Colorado, capturing the country's attention. And when we talk about this resistance movement, it's important to understand what started it. It's this memo that was issued by the mayor, a memo which tells city employees not to actively resist federal agents if they show up at a city-run site. And those
Mayor Adams is trying to get on their good side, bro, on Donald Trump's good side, but they're trying to, because of that, like I mentioned before, they're trying to get rid of his ass so fucking fast here in New York. Because yeah, I think there was a recent fucking like court that he had to go to court recently, and what was the details of it? Yeah, they just don't like him right now because he is siding with Trump. The Governor Holtru doesn't like him. Like, all the progressives in the city don't like him. But hell, I don't like him still. Not because of he's siding with Trump. It's because that before Trump, he was a shitty ass fucking mayor. He didn't do shit. It's recent now because people are now exposing all of his bullshit from the past. Is now where he's starting to come back, you know, come back to the quote unquote light. But I think it might be a little bit too late. Like, he's getting what he fucking gets. And I don't think people are like 50-50 with him. He's like, okay, now he's starting to come around, but other people are like, I still don't give a fuck about this dude, you know?
Those employees feel threatened, which isn't crazy at all. In fact, it's a crime to impede a federal investigation and harbor a criminal. However, all of these protests forced the mayor's office to release this new set of protocols for interactions with non-local law enforcement, which basically instructs city employees to tell federal agents that if they don't have a warrant to take a hike. But the mayor's also very clear that this does not contradict his prior instructions for city employees not to get in the way of armed federal agents, who may be carrying out actions that are perfectly within the law.
We're not going to tolerate it anymore. This is not a game. When we show up these sites, this is a dangerous job for the men and women of ICE and Border Patrol and all the DOJ agencies. To have this type of interference puts our officers at great risk. Not only the officers, it puts the aliens at great risk because anything can happen when we take our eyes off the goal.
So let's imagine that ICE goes into a building looking for a dangerous gang member. That person, if they're armed, which they often are, if they know that ICE is coming and they decide to resist, things could get dangerous for other people who are in that apartment or in that building. And in the case of a city-run housing facility, you're putting families in danger, some of whom have little kids. And that's why it's so bad that people like this are in our communities. Their presence there puts the community at risk from their activities and also from what they might do when it comes time to arrest them. Yet we want to fight ICE, even though the reality is that these enforcement actions make the world a better place because there are now less gang members roaming around in it. And some of these advocates,
they're just trying to catch a check, bro. There's some reason why they want to keep all these illegal migrants here. The only thing that comes to mind is just a check. They're getting money some way by having all these illegal aliens or these illegal migrants in the city. They're catching it. They're getting their bag somehow with doing that. I don't know what it is. I want to know what the secret is. Not for me to do it. I just want to know how are they doing that? How? What are they doing that it's so paramount to have these people in the cities just causing havoc? How are they getting that fucking money? What do they do? How is that possible? Like, why do they give a shit? How are they getting money like that? What is their ulterior motive? I want to know. I want to know.
They're out there getting people riled up, getting them to chant that they're going to stand up and fight back. That's a little radical. And I get that this is a sanctuary city, but at some point we've got to realize that it's one thing not to cooperate with the federal government, but it's quite another to tell city employees or people in general to actively resist the federal government. That's just dumb activism, and it's making everyone less safe. Yet none of that is stopping the leaders of this resistance movement from twisting around the truth and instilling fear in the hearts of everyone who lives in our city. So probably the biggest falsehood being spread about these ICE-related crackdowns is that they're bad for everybody in New York, no matter who you are, that they make our city less safe. And the people adhering to this line of thinking are so set in it. There is no room for negotiation. And every single time you hear about an ICE-related crackdown of a gang member, they say that this is just the first step towards rounding up every...
Yo, New Yorkers gotta have more fucking balls, bro. We gotta fucking be like, yo, bro, you're fucking lying to us. We're not falling for your bullshit. Get the fuck out of here. They gotta fucking have more balls and stand up instead of being mute or sticking their head in the sand or worse, you know, condoning this shit. The people who condone this shit probably, one, live in these gated communities, well, not gated communities, but these fancy ass apartments or these fucking rich ass areas where they don't have to deal with this shit, or they're getting a little piece of the pie. They're catching a check on the side. That's the only reason why these progressives or the people who are in favor of this or condone this are doing it. That's the only reason.
Everybody, which means there must be political gain behind lawmakers trying to scare everyone.
Critics are now pointing to this as just the latest troubling behavior by Mayor Adams, who's shown willingness to work with the Trump administration.
The mayor and the president see millions of people, not only in this city, but across the country, as expendable.
So the resistance movement says this is just about removing people from our country for no reason. But that's not what ICE or anybody in charge of this says.
I looked at the numbers this morning. ICE has already arrested just short of 12,000 people in this country. Vast majority are criminals, public safety threats. And that's what we're trying to do. And for any mayor or governor who doesn't want public safety threats removed from the communities, I find it hard to believe that. But we're going to do it with or without them.
So ICE says one thing, the protesters say another, but what is reality showing us? Reality is showing us that we have a small number of ICE agents who are out in the field engaging in these targeted operations. These are not mass roundups. In fact, as of the filming of this video, there has not been an ICE presence at any of these asylum shelters. Now that eventually might change, but ICE has said they're going after the worst first, like that gang leader who was in an apartment with a weapon and other people. Which brings up a very interesting point, because the thing that has activists fuming is that ICE would arrest anybody who's not a gang member. But who exactly is it that's living with a gang member and is an adult? Are they also gang members we just don't know about yet? Are they somehow helping or harboring that criminal, giving them a place to hide? And this guy was a gang ringleader. He wasn't nobody. How could the people living with him have had no idea about that, especially when he was keeping weapons in the house? The only way for activists to be upset about this is if they're not asking the right questions. They're all upset about the idea of collateral arrests, yet they're not concerned at all why somebody would be living.
The ones who don't care, either the ones who are condoning it or the ones who are catching a check. Just saying.
With gang members or other criminals.
So there's one couple with about 5 kids that were living in that apartment. I don't know if it was a couple, but I know a woman, a few kids, and somebody in their 50s. Okay. Male in their 50s. Okay. That I've seen. But I mean, you never know.
So one way of looking at this raid was that a whole bunch of people had ICE agents in their apartment for absolutely no reason. Another way of looking at it is that you had little kids that were living with gang members and now don't have to anymore. They may have been rescued. And no one's curious about why those children were in that apartment. Whose children were they? And who was the older person living in that apartment and what was their...
Man, those kids who are living there, man, I hope they weren't fucking human trafficked, man. I hope they weren't. I hope the kids weren't fucking suffering like that. I hope that shit didn't happen to those kids, man.
Connection to this whole thing. And what's crazy is even though armed criminals like this are living in our communities, our leaders are getting people all riled up and all scared. And some people, they take them at their word. They may say, you know what, I'm going to actively resist federal agents if they come to my building. That would be terrible. More people are just going to be in danger if this goes down.
We're going to do what the President promised American people. We're going to make our community safer by targeting those who are in the country illegally that have criminal record or public safety threat. That's what we're doing. But if you force us into the community and not let us get the bad guy into jail, that's going to put the community at risk.
So there it is. ICE is not coming for everyone. They're coming for criminals. But if they find people who are with criminals at the time of arrest, and those people are in the country unlawfully, they're also going to get arrested. And what's crazy is the Border Czar says that collateral arrests are actually going to be more common in New York because the city will not cooperate with ICE. For example, if a dangerous individual is held in a county jail and a sanctuary city will not let ICE agents in or won't tell ICE that that person's there, that person's going to end up getting released. They're going to go back to their apartment, back to their shelter, back to their community, put everybody in danger, and then ICE is going to have to go get them when they're in public and may be armed, which wasn't the case when they were behind bars. Yet here we are with activists who run our city telling everyone that communities are less safe when the gang members are taken away from them. An idea that literally makes no sense.
God, these fucking people are so out of touch, bro. I swear. Where the fuck are these people living, bro? They sure as hell ain't living with the people who are suffering. I guarantee you that.
In fact, every single position that these advocates are taking
Ladrón, thief, ojo, means eye, but be on the lookout.
Just going to continue making the city more
ratero, like rat or thief or some shit like that.
More dangerous. And if anything, this is a sanctuary city. Activists have had their chance to prove that they're on the right side of history. But here we are just a couple of years after the asylum crisis started, and we've got gangs living throughout our city, being propped up and protected by our legal system. And nobody who's brought this upon us wants it to change. Do you think it should change? How would you change it? Do you think the Border Czar is on the right track? Do you think that these ICE raids are bad for New York City? Let me know. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next.
No, good video by Cash Jordan again. I love his fucking content, bro.